Ultimately, it really comes down to education. That there a lot of these other things ameliorate, but that ultimately an educated, nothing can replace an educated world population that fully is educated to what's going on in the geometry of growth is put down at a much broader level through education. How do we do that, I guess is. Al, do you?
Just have to keep working on it and hope that, for instance, some real national leaders would emerge who would put the question to the people. And I think what we need is a national dialogue. How large a population do we think the United States should have? And what are the pros and cons? And have this debate in all the states and across from coast to coast with the idea that after a year or so of debate, we'll make some kind of a population policy, ask the Congress to present some kind of a population policy which would then provide the framework for guiding immigration. And as Governor Lamb pointed out, we have something like over 1 million legal immigrants every year or something like this. And but we need to ask, and what are the targets that we should be shooting for our children, the benefit of our grandchildren, and so on? Are we going to leave them a world that's just greatly reduced in resources and where things are really very difficult? And just a hint of how difficult they might be, the book there that Steve has, 1972 issue of Limits to Growth. Now, this was a computer simulation of the global economy that was done by a systems analysis group at MIT. And they modeled population, pollution, food, energy, and one or two other parameters. And what they saw was that, well, with almost any input that you had, the population would continue to grow, but then by the middle part of this century, it would crash from high pollution and shortage of food. Now, the whole world community of economists just fell all over themselves when that was published. They, just denouncing it in every forum they could reach, and many of the editorialists from coast to coast picked up the denunciations and were just rejecting it. It was just too terrible to be true. But things seemed to be coming along the way they predicted. They wrote a 20-year update in 1992 and said we've lost 20 years. And in 2002, they had a 30-year update, and that's the one that's in the bookstores today. And again, things haven't changed in any way to make anything better. Things are still looking like as though we really have our grandchildren are really going to have some problems in another couple of decades.
Al, I didn't do justice to that question, and I think it's really, essentially he's also asking, how can you have a sustainable America if you don't have a sustainable world? I read that into his question, that this education that we're talking about has to be worldwide ultimately.